students, good morning. Uh, uh, Today we can see about this economics lesson. Okay. Already I have taught this economics, isn't it? Economics, it was derived from the Greek word. Ecos means household, norms means management. Household management I have taught, isn't it? Once we can recall what we have learned in the previous class. Okay. Can you say what is economics? Economics is the study of the use of scarce resources that have alternative use, isn't it? Next also I taught economics is divided into two, positive economics and normative economics. Next, what do you know about this positive? It has no value judgment, but this normative economics have value judgment, isn't it? Yes, right. Next, we have learned that economics is again divided into two. That is microeconomics and macroeconomics. Isn't it? Do you know what is microeconomics? Yes, study of individual. At the same time, macroeconomics means study of country or government. Okay. Next also I have taught who is the father of economics. Do you know, children? Can you remember who is the father of economics? Yes, very good. That is Adam Smith. Okay. And who is the mother of economics? That is Amartya Sen. Then the definition of economics also I have taught. Did you remember? So, economics is a social science concerned with the production, distribution and consumption of goods and service. It studies how individual, business, government and nation make choice about how to allocate resources. Is that it? Yes. Next, the previous class we have learned about national income. Isn't it? What is national income? National income is a measure of the total money value of goods and services produced by an economy over a period of time. That means 1 year. It was calculated, isn't it? Commonly, national income is called as gross national product, GNP, or national dividend. Okay. Next also we have learned about various terms of measuring national income. Did you remember what are the terms of measuring national income? Yes, that is gross national product, gross domestic product, net national product, net domestic product, per capita income, personal income, disposable income. Isn't it? These are the things we have learned in the previous class. So again, we are going to learn today the same lesson only, remaining portion. Okay, economics lesson 1, gross domestic product and its growth and introduction. In that part, we are going to learn gross domestic product, GDP. So, today's class, I am going to talk about gross domestic product. What is GDP? And methods of GDP for calculating. Okay, how to calculate GDP? What are the methods of calculating GDP? Next one, importance of GDP. Next, limitation of GDP. These things only we are going to learn in today's class. Once again, I can recall what are the things we are going to learn today. Gross domestic product, methods of gross domestic product, importance of gross domestic product and limitations of gross domestic product. Okay, now we can come to our lesson. What do you mean by gross domestic product? Already in the first class I have taught, isn't it? Gross domestic product is the measure of the country's economic output in a year. Okay. So GDP is equal to, there is one formula also I have explained, C plus I plus G plus NX. Okay. Next, the definition of GDP. Do you know this definition of GDP? GDP is the total of all value added created in an economy. Value added means the value of goods and services that have been produced minus the value of goods and services needed to produce them. The so-called intermediate consumption. Okay, are you clear? Now, gross domestic product. Here, it was under these two headings: produced in the country, produced during a time of period. Okay, produced in the country. GDP of India include only the market value of goods and service produced in India. So already we know GDP means what? GDP is the measure of the country's economic output in a year. So in India, it will include only the market value of goods and services, not the other thing. Okay, for example, we can see Kashmir. Kashmir is in India. At the same time, California is in US, isn't it? So, the apple was produced in Kashmir. The market value of apple produced in Kashmir are included in our GDP. Why it was included means because Kashmir is in our country. Okay. At the same time, the apple which are produced in California is not included in GDP. Why? Because California is in US. It is in other country. Are you clear? So GDP of India includes only the market value of goods and services produced in India. Okay. Produced during a time period. How it was calculated means the GDP of a country measures the market value of goods and services produced only during the specified time period. So goods and services produced in earlier period are not included. For example, this year 2021, isn't it? But what goods and services are produced in 2020 was not included. Are you clear? So only in 2021 what it was produced, what are the goods and services produced, that alone be included. But in 2020 it was not included, it was excluded. Are you clear? Next one, methods of GDP. What are the methods? There are three important methods: expenditure approach, the income approach, value added approach. What are the three methods of calculating GDP? It's expenditure method, income method, and value added method. That only we are going to see. Okay. What are the methods of calculating GDP? Before that, do you know who has introduced this concept GDP? This GDP was first developed by Simon Kushnet for a US Congress report in 1934. Are we clear? Next, this GDP was calculating with the help of three methods. What are three methods? Expenditure method, income method, and value added method. Okay, first one is the expenditure method. Expenditure, you all know what do you mean by expenditure. Okay. In this method, the GDP is measured by adding the expenditure on all the final goods and services produced in the country during a specified period. Okay. How it was calculated, do you know? This GDP was the expenditure approach. In this expenditure approach, here how it was calculated means the GDP is measured by adding the expenditure on all the final goods and services produced in the country during a specified period. That is, there is one formula also, y equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. What was the formula to calculate expenditure approach? That is Y equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Okay, you all know what is C? Consumption, investment. G means what? Government expenditure, and export minus import. Yes, right? Are you clear? Okay, next one, expenditure method. Next one is the income method. Next method is the income method or the income approach. See how it was calculating means. This method looks at GDP from the perspectives of the earnings of the men and women who are involved in producing the goods and services. The income approach to measure GDP is Y equal to wages plus rent plus interest plus profit. Are you clear? Listen, how this income method was calculating. You all know in your home, both your father and mother is working means they too will earn. Isn't it? So this method, both men and women who are involved in producing the goods and services, it was added in this. How it was? What was the formula to measuring this income method? Means Y GDP is equal to wages plus rent plus interest plus profit. Are you clear? Okay, next, third method is the value added approach. What do you know about this value added approach? Value added means all the intermediate goods are added for the even to the total value of final goods produced in the economy. Okay, for example, you are going to one hotel. In that, you had a cup of tea. Okay, so this cup of tea is the final good. You all know to prepare a cup of coffee, what are the intermediate goods you need? That is tea powder we need, milk we need, sugar we need, isn't it? These are all the things, intermediate goods. If we have all these things only, final goods will be given. That is the tea can be produced. If you miss one item also, we can't get this final goods, isn't it? So one way to measure the market value of a cup of tea is to add the value produced by each intermediate goods used to produce it. The sum of the value added of all the intermediate goods used in production gives us the total value of the final goods produced in the economy. So from this picture, what you understood? Value added approach, tea powder plus milk plus sugar gives tea, isn't it? So all these tea powder, milk, sugar, these are the intermediate goods. And the final goods, that is the tea. Cup of tea is the final goods. So this value added method, tea powder plus milk plus sugar is equal to tea, is equal to the value of final good. So value of intermediate goods is equal to value of final goods. Okay, like it only we can calculate this value added method. Are you clear? Okay, next one, importance of GDP. Why GDP is very important? There are 6 important points. First point is study of economic growth. In order to study the growth of economy, GDP is very, very important. Okay, why we need GDP? GDP means you all know what is the full form of GDP? Gross domestic product. Gross means total. Then domestic means what are the goods and services produced inside the country. So, study of economic growth. This GDP will help us to study the growth of an economy. Are you clear? Next one, problems of inflation and deflation. What do you mean by inflation? Price rise. Deflation, reduction in price. Okay. So, with the help of this GDP, we can solve the problem of inflation and deflation. Okay. It will be useful to know this. With the help of GDP only, we can see this inflation and deflation. Next one, third one is the comparison with the developed countries of the world. So, comparison. What is the meaning of comparison? We can compare with other country also. With the help, this GDP will give more importance for the comparison. With the developed country, with the developing country, with other country, with USA, Britain, France, like that, it will be useful. So, comparison with the developed countries of the world also, it is very, very important. Next one, estimate the purchasing power. So, it is more important. GDP help us to estimate the purchasing power also. Okay. Next one is the study of public sector. So, with the help of GDP, we can know the public sector, how our country is, how it was developed, how much it was grown. So, in each sector, how it was developed, that is very important. This GDP give more importance. Next one, guide to economic planning. Next, last point is this GDP helps to guide the economic planning. What are the things we can do? For these and all, it is very useful. Next, we are going to see the limitation of GDP. Limitations. What is the meaning of limitations? Tamil will say kureibadu. Okay. That is disadvantage. What are the disadvantages of GDP? There are 4 disadvantages. First one, several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. Second one, GDP measures only quantity but not quality. Third one, GDP does not tell us about the way income is distributed in the country. Next, final one is the GDP does not tell us about the kind of life people are living. How the people are living. That one, it does not say. So, first one, several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. What are the important goods left? How it was left? The GDP includes only the goods and services sold in the market alone. What are the things coming in the market only? It was calculated. But many things, it was not coming in the market. That was not calculated in this GDP. Okay. So, the service provided by parents to their children is very important, but it is not included in the GDP because it is not sold in the market. For example, what are the things buying and giving for you? What are for example, your parents are spending money for your education, for your food, for your health, and for your medicine. These are the things not come in GDP. Why? Because it is not common. Then it is not sold in the market. Okay, likewise, clean air. And also not included in GDP. It is vital for the healthy life. Has no market value and is left out of GDP. So, air is the from nature we are getting. That is also not included. Okay. Next, from this picture we can see what you can see. Your parents are taking care of you, isn't it? The service provided by parents in their children is very important, but it is not included in GDP. From this next picture, what you understood? That we are getting clean air. Isn't it? This air also not included in GDP. Next, second one is GDP measures only quantity but not quality. Only the amount. Okay. Not the quality, whether it is good quality or bad quality. It is not included. It is not calculated. In the 1970s, schools and banks did not permit the use of ballpoint pens. This is because the ones available in India were very poor quality. Do you understand? So, during that time, 1970s and all, we are not using ballpoint pen because that time it is poor quality. Since then, not only has been substantial increase in the quality of ballpoint pen produced in India, but their quality has also improved a lot. The improvement in quality of goods is very important, but it is not captured by the GDP. Are you clear? So GDP measures only the quantity, but not the quality. Next one is the GDP does not tell us about the way income is distributed in the country, how the country was distributing. That also not tell. It is also one of the limitations. GDP does not tell us about the way income is distributed in the country. Okay. The GDP of a country may be growing rapidly, but income may be distributed so unequally that only a small percentage of people may be benefiting from it. For example, in our country, we can see all are not getting same income, isn't it? But some places, same work only they are doing, but different income. Isn't it? So, this GDP of a country may be growing rapidly, but income may be distributed unequally. So it is also not come in the calculation of GDP. Okay, this is also one of the limitation. Next, last one is the fourth point, isn't it? The GDP does not tell us about the kind of life people are living. So this is one of the things. The GDP does not tell us about the kind of life people are living, how these people are living. That also it was not taken into account. A high level of per capita real GDP can go hand in hand, and very low health condition of people and undemocratic political system, high pollution and suicide rate. Sometimes health condition of the people or some suicidal conditions, that also not come in calculation. Okay, so the GDP does not tell us about the kind of life people are living. Okay, once again we can recall today what are the things we can see about gross domestic product, what is produced in country, produced during a time of period. Next, methods of GDP for calculating. What are the methods? 3 methods: expenditure method, income method, and value added method. Next, what we have learned, that the importance of GDP. There are 6 important things. Next, finally we have learned limitations of GDP. What are the limitations? There are also 4 limitations. Important goods and services are left out, and the GDP measures only the quantity but not the quality. And the GDP does not tell us about the way of income in distributed in the country. And finally, the GDP does not tell us about the kind of life people are living. Okay, students. Thank you, students.